Guys, this is the 28th episode of Wednesday to Night's 20 Days of Horror. That means there's only 3 more episodes left until it's all over. I honestly can't believe we made it this far, but I'm happy to have made this journey so far with you. But back to the story we will be talking about. We'll be talking about a fan game about a very popular show called Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Now you may be wondering, well, there's tons of fan games out there, how is this one different? Well, this specific fan game took things a little bit too far with what it shows. And the mystery surrounding it is very interesting. So, let's come on and join in as we take a look at the story titled Ed, Edd, and Eddy, the Game. Let's begin. It all started on 4chan. A few years ago, around 2006, an anonymous user on 4chan left a post on one of 4chan's forums. It read, "Hello, I worked hard on this game. Please play it. It'd be really fun." It also included a link to a .war file on MediaFile. Most people who would disregard the post due to its poor spelling, and if they would visit the link, they would see that the file was called Ed, Edd, and Eddy the Game, and forget about trying it. But the ones who did play it were in for one hell of a ride. Most of the reactions to the game were quite different than the type one might expect. What the hell? Holy shit, man. Now that was too freaky for me. Do not play this game. It's not what you think it is. And many other posts among the same topic. The post was removed a few months later because of the public reaction to the game. Also, the MediaFile link is no longer available because the original uploader's account was shut down. What you are about to read is a description of the game. The information gathered about the game was received by the various users of 4chan who were unlucky enough to have downloaded the game. In order to start the game, you must extract the .war file into any folder. Attempting to run the file's .exe file before doing so will result in an error message. Once extracted, the game can be launched by clicking Ed, Edd, and Eddy the Game.exe. The game will automatically enter full screen mode and cannot be closed unless you press Alt F4. Close it with the task manager or pressing the exit game button in the game. The game starts as what appears to be a poorly designed fan game. The title screen is an edit of a screen cap of the show, and the words play game, exit game, and the game were edited onto it, more than likely using Microsoft Paint. The play game and exit game are clickable, and they do exactly what they say. Starting the game would jump to a black screen with a few blank areas to enter information. The game asks the player for their name, their cell phone number, and the player's address. The game states at the top of the screen that entering any of the information wrong will remove from the experience of the game. Once the player enters their info, they can begin the game by pressing a button that says play at the bottom of the screen. Pressing it will throw the player straight into the game. The game is in a first-person perspective. The player starts on the sidewalk of a poorly designed 3D cul-de-sac. The in-game music is an endless loop of the Ed, Edd, and Eddy opening theme song, and at the bottom of the screen there is white text that acts as dialogue box for the game. As soon as the game begins, the white text reads, "Step right up and try our new trick. I meant magic trick. Only 25 cents. The game doesn't give the player any directions of how to play the game, so they must fiddle with the keyboard until they figure out the controls. WASD are used to control movement. The spacebar used to jump, and moving the mouse moves the camera. Movement is slow and jumpy is floaty and doesn't go very high. Once the player figures out how to control the game, they'll eventually move towards the middle of the cul-de-sac, where a few characters and other objects are visible. In the center of the cul-de-sac are flat models of Ed, Eddy, Double D, Jimmy, Kevin, and Sarah. The models are the simple, flat models that are always facing the player no matter where the player stands. All the characters are standing around a poorly designed model what appears to be a rocket ship. Moving close to it causes a clip from the TV show to play. The clip is a scene from Season 2, Episode 3 of Ed, Edd, and Eddy called Ready, Set, Ed. The clip is a scene of Ed stuffing all the kids into their rocket car, and Eddy enters to explain why Double D and Ed couldn't come with them. The clip quality is poor, and it ends abruptly after Eddy finishes his explanation. After the clip ends, the player is back in control of the game, but now the player is in a small 3D box-like room. The player can't do anything at this point, but after 30 seconds or so, they will receive a text messages on their phone. If they can receive messages, if not, the player must use Alt plus F4 to exit the game, and the message will say type fast. The message is from a private number and can't be messaged or called. Typing fast on the keyboard will cause the game to show another clip, but this time the clip is of old crash test footage. The audio is missing during the clip, and no sounds are playing. The footage plays once, then freezes on the last frame. Pressing any button on the keyboard will cause the game to return to play mode, but this time, all the textures of the box room's walls are replaced with the final frame of the car crash scene. And in the middle of the room, Eddy and Double D stand next to each other. Approaching the two will make the white text on the bottom of the screen to change to say, "We killed them, Eddy." "I know, you idiot." "Oh my goodness, think of their families." "No, you moron, think of the corridors." After a few seconds, the textures of the room will be replaced with pure black and the text, "You will pay for your sins." Then the game will freeze for a little bit and put the player in a new room. This new room is a long, pure black hallway. After being in this room for a little bit, the player will receive a text message saying 1. Some players wouldn't know what to do at this point and quit. Other players would type the word 1, and the game would play a voice clip of Double D crying that was taken directly from the show. And the Ed, Edd, and Eddy opening music would stop playing. The white text at the bottom of the screen would now read the words 1. If the player looks to one side of the hallway, they will notice a flat model of Double D slowly getting closer. But this wasn't the same Double D model from earlier. Double D was now black and white. His eyes are now edited to be black and red, and he has no mouth. Touching Double D at this point of the game will immediately cause the game to crash. Player that touched Double D claim to have heard footsteps outside their rooms, even if they leave alone. If the player moves away from Double D when they reach the end of the hallway, the game will freeze and move to another location. This new area was a very tall room. The room wasn't very wide, but it went up very high. The white text at the bottom of the screen would now read, "Tap the space bar." Tapping the space bar will cause the player to constantly jump, and the player can now fly upwards by tapping the space bar. After a few seconds, a wide brown polygon will appear at the bottom of the map and slowly move upwards. Touching it will crash the game, but if the player flies all the way up to the top of the room, the game will change locations for one last time. The player is where they started in the game, in the cul-de-sac, but now nobody's in the center of it. Only a guillotine stands in the middle of the cul-de-sac. The white text now says, "End this horrible game now." But if the player does not touch the guillotine within 1 minute, they will receive 17 messages that all say, "End it." If the player idles any longer, they will receive a phone call. If they enter it, they will hear a reversed version of the Ed, Edd, and Eddy opening. And once it finishes, they'll hear a man yell at the top of his lungs. Touching the guillotine leads the player to a menu screen that says, "Congratulations, you beat Ed, Edd, and Eddy the game. You will receive the making of DVD soon. Thanks for playing." Along with the button that allows the player to quit the game. And that is where the game ends. If the player looks into the game's files after you beat the game, they'll notice a new .jpg file called Buttered Toast. It is a black and white photograph on an autopsy. The .exe file for the game will be missing from the person's computer. After the player beats the game, they will receive a message about 3 or 4 months later. Only the first 50 players that beat the game received this package. According to a player that received it, the box was small, but smelled extremely bad. The cardboard on the small package was also wet, according to a player that received it. Within the package is a blank CD with the making of Ed, Edd, and Eddy the game, written on it with Sharpie. If a player loads the disc into a computer, they will find a .mp4 file called The Making Of. The file is a video. The video starts off with the Ed, Edd, and Eddy opening sequence. After this, a white screen with the words, "The Make Ed of the Game." The screen remains like this for a few seconds, then cuts to the crash test scene featured in the game. The clip now has sound, but remains quiet until the car hits the wall. Once it does, the video will play screams that are so loud they can break the player's speakers. Pausing the video here does not stop the screens, and the video will force the computer to shut down after it ends. Players that watched the video have had strange occurrences afterwards. They will tend to hear their phone ring, even though nobody is calling. Some players claim to hear the reverse version of the Ed, Edd, and Eddy opening from far away as an echo. When some players sleep, they'll wake up abruptly to the sound of footsteps or sound of someone whispering, "End it," though nobody is around. Some people claim that all of the files on their desktop are replaced with the game's executable file. The game is no longer available on the internet, and the creator of the game still remains unknown.